The morning fog hung low over the sleepy town of Willow Creek, a quiet rural place where neighbors still waved from porches and the air always smelled faintly of pine and earth. It was just past dawn when the call came in, a farmer's voice trembling over the line. "There's a horse in the river. I think it's blind. Please, someone help." 30 miles away, Sarah Jennings was sipping her coffee in the animal rescue shelter. She ran out of her converted barn. Her phone buzzed. She almost didn't answer. Calls this early rarely brought good news. But something in her gut told her to pick up. And when she did, everything changed. "I'll be there in 30 minutes, she said without hesitation. Sarah had seen many things in her 15 years rescuing animals. Abandoned dogs, neglected cats, injured owls. But a blind horse, struggling in a rushing river? That was new and terrifying. As she drove toward the location, her mind raced. The map showed a stretch of the River Elms, narrow, winding, and swollen from recent rains. The current would be fast, the banks slippery. A nightmare for any animal. A death trap for one that couldn't see. When she arrived, the scene stole her breath. A crowd had gathered on the bank, some holding ropes, others pointing helplessly. In the middle of the river, chest deep in water and shaking, stood a large white horse. His eyes were clouded with a gray-blue film, completely blind. He was frozen in place, hooves rooted in the muddy bottom, sides heaving with exhaustion. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered. "He's going to collapse." The farmer, a man in his 60s named Tom, approached her. "He's been there all night. We tried to get to him, but he panics if anyone comes close. We think he fell in trying to drink. Poor guy, he must be terrified." Sarah nodded, her voice tight. "He doesn't know where the bank is. He doesn't trust anyone." She took a step toward the river. The horse lifted his head slightly, ears twitching. His body trembled from cold and fear. Sarah called softly, "Hey, big guy, you're okay. You're not alone now." She removed her boots, rolled up her jeans, and slowly stepped into the icy water. The current immediately pushed against her legs, and the bottom sucked at her feet. But she didn't stop. Every eye on the bank watched her in silence as she waded forward, one cautious step at a time. The horse shuddered, tossing his head. She paused. "It's okay," she said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help." Closer now. 10 feet. Then 8. She could see scrapes along his flank, and cuts near his knees. Signs he'd stumbled through brush or rocks before falling in. "I know you can't see me," Sarah whispered. "But I'm here. You're safe." The horse let out a low, trembling whinny. She took it as permission. The final few feet were slow and careful. When she was close enough to touch him, she didn't. Instead, she stood still, letting him smell her, feel her presence. Her lips trembled as she murmured, "You're not alone anymore. You're going to get out of this. I promise." Then gently, she laid a hand on his neck. The horse flinched, but didn't bolt. Behind her, someone gasped. Sarah began humming softly, a tune her mother used to sing when calming nervous horses. She stroked his neck, his mane, all while whispering reassurances. Then she took a deep breath and turned slightly. "Rope," she called. Carefully, a young volunteer tossed her a thick lead rope. She looped it around the horse's neck. Not tight, just enough to guide. Every movement slow, deliberate. Step by trembling step, Sarah coaxed him toward the bank. He staggered once, nearly falling, but she steadied him with both hands. "Easy, easy," she said. "I've got you." Minutes felt like hours. Finally, hooves touched dry land. Cheers broke out on the bank. Someone cried. Sarah didn't hear it. Her eyes were locked on the horse, who now stood on trembling legs, head bowed, breathing ragged. Then he nuzzled her, and Sarah broke down, kneeling beside him, arms around his neck, tears mixed with river water on her cheeks. "You did it," she whispered. "You held on." But the story didn't end there. What they found after the rescue would change everything. The moment the horse touched solid ground, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. But it was fleeting. She knew the hardest part was just beginning. Getting him out of the river was only the first step. Keeping him alive, healing the trauma, the wounds, the fear. That would take everything she had. Tom placed a wool blanket over the horse's back, but Sarah could already see the tremors in his legs. "He's close to collapse," she said. "We need to move him, get him warm and dry." "Where's the closest shelter?" Tom looked hesitant. "Only place close is your rescue, right?" Sarah nodded, wiping river water from her face. "Load him carefully. We're going to save this boy." It took the help of 4 strong volunteers and 2 makeshift ramps to get the horse into her trailer. He didn't resist. In fact, he seemed to trust Sarah now, his head leaning into her chest as if he knew, somehow, that she was the one who wouldn't leave him behind. As the trailer doors shut, Sarah sat in the back with him. She whispered to him the whole drive. "I'm going to call you River, okay? Because that's where I found you, and that's where you survived." At the rescue center, the barn was warm and filled with soft hay. Sarah led River into a quiet stall, his hooves unsteady but his spirit calm. She checked his vitals, applied ointment to his cuts, and set up a heater. Then she sat with him, silent, present. But her heart was heavy. A blind horse was not easy to care for. His chance of being adopted was close to 0. His vision was gone, and his age, maybe 15 or 16, meant time wasn't on his side. And the vet hadn't even arrived yet to assess the full extent of the damage. She posted his photo online with a caption, "Rescued from the river today. Blind. Scared. Brave. Meet River." Within an hour, hundreds of shares poured in. Comments from strangers. Donations trickling in. Messages of support. But one message stood out. "I know that horse." Sarah blinked. The message was from a woman named Lucy. She said she'd been looking for a white stallion named Thunder, who had been stolen from her family ranch 2 years ago during a string of illegal livestock trades. She attached a photo. It was him. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The scar above the eye. The freckled nose. It matched perfectly. She called Lucy immediately. "Are you sure it's him?" Sarah asked. "I'm positive," Lucy said, her voice cracking. "My little girl used to ride him every morning. He's gentle. Loyal. He went missing, and we never found him. We thought he was gone forever." Sarah stared at River, now dozing in the straw. "There's more," Lucy added. "He wasn't blind when he left. Someone must have hurt him." Sarah's heart twisted. Later that evening, the vet arrived. Dr. Mason, a kind-eyed man in his 60s, examined River carefully. He looked at his eyes for a long time. "Both retinas are damaged," he said quietly. "This wasn't natural. Looks like blunt trauma." Repeated. Sarah closed her eyes. "Someone beat him." Dr. Mason nodded. "I'm afraid so. But the good news is, he's strong. No infection. Good weight. If he rests and you train him to adapt, he can live a long, happy life. He just needs someone who won't give up on him." Sarah looked at the horse. "That's exactly what he's going to get." The next few days were slow but steady. River grew stronger. He began to recognize Sarah's footsteps. He even started responding to her voice commands. "Left," she'd say, and he'd nudge gently that direction. "Step," and he'd lift his hoof. She sang to him when she fed him. Sometimes, late at night, he'd nicker softly when she entered the barn. And then, one afternoon, as golden sunlight poured through the open barn door, a car pulled up the gravel driveway. Lucy stepped out. Behind her, a little girl with a red ribbon in her hair. Sarah's heart stopped. "Is it really him?" Lucy whispered. Sarah nodded. The little girl walked slowly toward the stall. River lifted his head. His ears flicked. He stepped forward. She didn't say a word, just reached out and laid her hand on his nose. And River let out a soft, broken whinny and pressed his face into her chest. The girl began to cry. So did Sarah. Lucy knelt beside them. "You came back to us," she said. But before anything could be decided about River's future, the vet returned with a test result that would bring an even deeper layer of heartbreak, and a miracle no one could have imagined. The barn fell silent as Dr. Mason unfolded the paper. His expression was unreadable, but Sarah could feel the tension in the air like static. "There's something you need to know," he said, voice low. "The blood work we ran, it shows signs of advanced internal stress. Elevated markers. River, Thunder, has been through more than just trauma. He has early-stage kidney failure. It's likely a result of prolonged neglect and untreated injuries." Lucy's face paled. Her daughter hugged the horse tighter. Sarah swallowed the lump in her throat. "What does that mean?" "It means he might not have years left. But he could still have many good months, maybe a year, maybe 2, if he's loved and cared for." The little girl looked up, eyes shimmering. "So he's dying." Dr. Mason knelt beside her. "We all are, sweetheart. But what matters is how we live with the time we have." For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was River's slow, steady breathing. Sarah finally stood. "I'll do whatever it takes to give him comfort. He's safe now. That's all that matters." Lucy looked at her daughter, Then at Sarah. Do you think he'd be okay with us? Coming back home? Sarah hesitated. Her bond with River had grown strong in just days. But she saw the way he leaned into the child's arms, the way his ears twitched when she spoke. He remembers you, Sarah said. I think he knows he's home. With Sarah's help, they prepared the ranch to accommodate a blind horse. New rails, soft fencing, voice-guided commands. And over the next few weeks, something remarkable happened. River adapted. He learned to follow the little girl's voice like a beacon. He responded to whistles, steps, even songs. He walked beside her without fear. Where she went, he followed. Videos of their walks together spread across the internet. The world watched as a blind horse, once discarded and broken, found his purpose again. People sent letters. A class of second graders in Ohio made a card that read, "You're our hero, River." A woman in Australia donated in memory of her childhood pony. A veteran with PTSD wrote, "If that horse can survive what he did, maybe I can keep going too." River became more than a rescue. He became a symbol. And though the shadow of his condition loomed, he never stopped moving forward. Every day became a gift. Every sunrise was a miracle. 6 months later, Sarah visited the ranch. She found the little girl sitting in the pasture, reading aloud from a picture book. River stood beside her, nose resting gently on her shoulder. Sarah sat down quietly next to Lucy. "How is he?" "Still strong. Still happy," Lucy smiled. "The vet says he might have longer than they thought. But we're just taking it one day at a time." Sarah nodded, eyes misty. "That's all any of us can do." As the sun dipped low and golden light washed the field, River lifted his head. He couldn't see the sky, but he turned toward the breeze, ears forward, as if greeting the moment. And in that instant, he was not a blind horse. He was a survivor, a friend, a miracle. The little girl looked at Sarah and smiled. "He doesn't need eyes to see where he belongs." Sarah whispered, "No, he just needs love. And that, he would never go without again."